Hi everyone, this is going to be my mid-year check-in for my journal and planner lineup. I am going to put the video I did at the beginning of 2020 with my initial lineup if you want to see where the year began. I did not rewatch that video, but I honestly don't think those original setups have changed. I think I've just added some setups to the mix because why not? So I will go through these pretty quickly. A lot of these I've had for probably the better part of 2 years. So these are things I've shown over and over. The first is my A6 5-year Hobonichi. This is what I use for gratitude. And then I also throw in the best part of that day. It's very quick and simple. This is a leather cover from LeCow. And speaking of 5-year journals, have you guys seen that 5-year journal from Midori MD, the one with the embroidery on the cover? That is absolutely stunning. I'm gonna put a picture up so you know what I'm talking about because it is unbelievably gorgeous. And I have been on the restock notification list at Jet Pens and for months. And I don't think that's coming back. So if you know how to get a hold of that, will you please leave a comment and enable me? Even though I have 3 years left in here and I have no business shopping around for another 5-year journal, but you know how it is. Anyway, these two are the Hobonichi weeks for the journals that I keep for each of my kids. I have the collaboration edition weeks. These cannot be purchased through the Hobonichi website. You usually have to get them through a third-party seller like Etsy, which is what I usually do. However, I really need to sign up for an account with those sites. Like I think one is Tenso, something like that, where you can order items that are Japan-only items, but then they ship to those of us in the US. I am really not familiar with that whole process. And I know there's like a couple of sites that do that for US-based people. So if you have a particular site that you use and that you really love, please let me know because that is something that I really need to start doing. I need to set up an account somewhere. These covers are from Makers South, which is easily my most favorite leather cover maker. I just love these 3 setups. They're just such staples in my whole lineup, and they probably always will be, unless I can get that embroidered Midori, of course. Okay, so next, so this is the next staple setup that I have. So this is my daily journal, and it differs from book to book. So once I complete a notebook, I usually switch the cover, the size, the type of notebook that's in it, the paper, of course. So it's just a way for me to experiment and to change things up so I don't get bored, because everything else is kind of consistent and stable in that they're really not changing. So this is currently an A6 Stalogy. This has had like 3 previous lives. I've tried to use this notebook for so many different things, and it has finally become one of my journals. And I don't know if you can tell, but I just have the tail end of this left, and then I will be done. I do not like Stalogy paper, not for my kind of journaling anyway. I pretty exclusively use fountain pens in here, and I find the paper to be a little finicky depending on the type of ink that I'm using. And I just want paper that's just going to work across the board with any ink that I pick. My most favorite paper is either Tomoe River or Midori MD paper. So I will not be buying any more Stalogy notebooks, not for this purpose anyway. I don't enjoy journaling in it whatsoever. but I brought this out. Oh, this is a Maker South cover again, as usual. I did start the year out for planning in a Hobonichi A6 day free, and I bought this cover for that. Then I quit using that Hobonichi for planning, and I'm glad that I was able to reuse this cover in a journal form, because this is one of my favorite leathers that they have, and they don't have it anymore. So I'm glad I got to get some use out of that again. But this, I just made this cover. I think everything else that I'm going to show is covers that I made myself, because, you know, when you just get picky and you know what you want, sometimes it's easier to just make it yourself. But I recently made this because I really love standard size, and I've been out of standard size for so long for journaling that I really need a reset. And once I'm done here, I just really need to jump back into this size. So I set this up. I actually have a video where I decorated the cover of this. This is a Traveler's Company 002 insert, so it is just the full grid. And I've set this up because I'm super excited to get in here. I also made this felt folder. It's pretty badly done, but whatever. Speaking of standard size, if you're a fellow standard size lover, then you will know that it is very hard, or impossible really, to find a standard size notebook that is thick like this and perfect bound. Usually we find inserts, you know, that have like, I don't know, around 100 pages, depending on the paper, and they're usually stapled or sewn in one straight line like this, just very thin notebooks. So what I have always done is taken A5 notebooks like this and had them cut down either at a store, or I just chop them down myself very messily, but I do that to get them to standard size. Now, I saw a few days ago that Archer and Olive have released a standard size perfect bound notebook. And I was so shocked and elated, and I immediately bought two, actually, because I couldn't decide on a color. And Archer and Olive paper, it is super thick and doesn't have any bleed through like at all. I've had an A5 of theirs in the past. So it has really good paper, but it isn't my favorite for fountain pens, only because it doesn't show all of the sheen that my other favorite papers do. But the fact that there's a perfect bound book in this size, I couldn't help it. I had to get it. And I am so looking forward to receiving those. Oh my gosh. So definitely go check it out if you are a standard lover and have been looking for a thick book that you don't have to cut down on your own. I mean, it's about time. Am I right? So yeah, so there's that. And I know this is set up with this insert, but once I get my Archer and Olive notebooks, I may just go with that through pure excitement. So we will see. This is a GLP Creations, the Author Notebook. It's from Amazon. This is actually 68 GSM Tomoe River paper. It's a dot grid. This is what I am using to swatch out like fountain pen inks. And I also use this as a currently inked for all of my fountain pens. I really like this notebook. For some reason, I haven't felt compelled to put a leather cover on it, but I'm totally fine with that. This is a sticker from Ghost Puff on Etsy. The only thing I'll say about this cover is that it comes with an elastic closure, a vertical one, and I found that it was so tight, and I don't know, there wasn't enough slack in it. Every time I put it on, it would always bend this cover, and I really didn't like that. I would sit and stretch it out, and I did that multiple times, but it never had enough give to it. And then eventually it popped out of the slots on its own. So that would be the only critique I have for this notebook, is that it needs a better design for the closure elastic. Yeah. So yeah, this is something that I did add during this year, because I started really getting into fountain pens a lot more. The next thing that I have, so this is my planner. It's basically my one and only planner. I said that I was previously in the A6 Hobonichi Day Free, and I really love that setup, but eventually I decided to put all of my planning stuff together in one place, which is why I made this mega planner. And I have never been happier in a planning system. This is obviously like a brick. I do not carry this out of the house with me at all. I find that I don't really need to. I don't really need to have all the planning things with me when I'm out. That's not really how I plan. I mainly have monthly spreads that show me when appointments are and keep me on track that way, but that's it. I don't do well when I plan out each day in detail for some reason and like have to check off every little task. Sometimes that works, but most often I don't thrive that way. I kind of wish I did though, because I really love seeing everybody's like bullet journal spreads and their ring planners and stuff, and they get to check off little things, but I just don't thrive that way, and it is what it is. But this has like 4 different planners in it for different things. I have my just everyday daily planner that has appointments and stuff like that in it, and YouTube scheduling. I'm not really in that like too much. I have homeschooling. They each have like a little folder system. This is the medical one. I take care of someone in my family that has a lot of medical needs, so I like to keep it all organized in here. And that's that. This is the only planner that I have. Everything else is basically journal type setups, and this is the fit for me. I shouldn't force anything else because this feels so right. So that is that. The next thing that I have is this setup, which is, I'm calling it my notes journal. I started this because I wanted to be able to keep notes on books that I'm reading, series that I'm watching, or movies and stuff like that. Anything I want to keep notes about, I made this whole setup for that. So I really liked this cover because I got some thinner Maverick leather that allows this to stay closed without an elastic, and that's always been a dream of mine. So this has random notes. It's obviously very like colorful because I like to play around in here as well and use a lot of my ephemera and colorful tools and stuff like that. So I don't work in this all the time. It's just when I want to, but I'm really glad I added this in because it's been a really fun addition to my whole lineup. Next thing is this. Also added this year. This is another cover that I made, and this is basically my financial planner, or more like a tracker. I've always had some kind of setup for finances, but I really wanted to customize it. I have a bunch of videos about like all the different components that I made in here, so I will link everything that I can. Basically, I made this setup very, very tall because I wanted to be able to fit these, I think they're number 10 envelopes. And because I wanted to have everything contained in one space. So I have my envelopes, my stamps, my checkbooks in here, my notebook where I write down when bills are paid every month, and just anything finance related is in here. I love that it's in a very customized size, and it just makes doing that chore a little bit more fun. The last thing is this setup, which this is the newest, no, it's not. Technically, this is the newest thing that I've added, but I haven't used that yet. So this is my A5, and this houses my Hobonichi cousin Avec. And most of my recent videos have been about this setup, but I put this together because I realized I wanted a place where I could look at a daily page and know exactly what occurred that day. So in my daily journal, part of the thing that I do is I write everything that happened, but then I also do a lot of stream of consciousness type journaling. There's a lot of stuff that's just words spewed onto the page out of my brain. I don't try to force myself to write any particular way. So I get off on a lot of tangents in here, but it's very therapeutic and very freeing for me. I like writing the way that I do. The problem is if I go back to a particular day to try to find out, what happened, or I'm trying to find when I received something or when something happened, it's very difficult to sift through all of the fluff and all of the stuff that I'm writing about. But putting it in this form is extremely helpful because it's just all on one page and I can see what I need very, very easily. So I have thoroughly been enjoying this. This format is also a really great way for like friends and family to be able to look in here and see all of our memories. This is just not for anybody else to look at. This is just for me. I keep this very private, but in here, this is where I put all of my photos and I make it really pretty and I have fun with all of my colorful tools and instruments and watercolors and all that really fun stuff. So I've thoroughly been enjoying this whole setup. It's been a really great addition. I would say that this, whatever daily journal that I'm in, is my most important setup. It is what I go to first. And if I hardly have any time to work in anything, I will devote that time to this because this is also a reference for every other setup. So if I'm a couple days behind in here, all I have to do is flip through this, see what happened, and then I'm able to put the highlights in here. Same goes with my kids' journals. I can just go back and see what I wrote about them on whatever day and then fill that out in here. And then with my gratitude journal, same exact concept. It's all in here, and then I can put the information in all the other places it goes, and this can stay private, and everything else, I mean, it can be looked at by other people and it's totally fine with me. These are meant to be for my kids as well. I plan on giving them these journals once they're completed, but this, like I said, is just for me. So that is everything. Those are all of my setups. I've added a few. I believe there's 9 setups here, but I don't know. I've always kind of had that many. I like having a lot of different things, but there's not a lot of pressure to work on all of this stuff every day. So I hope your planning and journaling is going well this year. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you again soon. Bye.